Welcome back here to the bonus round on Hockey Inside Out. Jake Allen, how many games will he play this year? Now, you look at Jake Allen's career as the St. Louis Blue Montreal Canadiens, excluding this year through 9 seasons. He's played about under 40 games per year. His highest total was 61 back in 16-17, which he had a great year for the St. Louis Blues. Stu, how many games will Jake Allen play this season?
Yeah, I mean, he's 32 years old now. I think 50 should be probably the maximum for him. He had a couple of groin injuries last year. Not just injury-wise, but we've seen since Allen's come here. You got to remember, he was signed here to be a backup for Carey Price, and he's an excellent backup goalie in the NHL, a guy you can throw in there. He's going to give you a chance to win every time he's in net. But the more he plays, the more his game seems to break down. He's at an age now where I think 50 games to me would be the maximum that he could play. Marty St. Louis, Sam Montembeault goes in there, tries his best, but he's not, in my opinion, he hasn't shown that he's a real NHL goalie at this point. And Caden Primo has shown he's not ready for the NHL. But it's more about development this year than wins and losses. And I think they want to keep Jake Allen healthy. They signed him to that 2-year contract extension before the start of this season. So he's got 3 more years under contract here. So I think they want to manage him to make sure he's there to help with the young defense and give them a chance to win every night, because you don't want losses piling up and you don't want that losing mentality getting into the locker room. But I think they're going to have to regulate his playing and work out a schedule where he plays no more than 50 games.
Yeah, I think 50 is the perfect number for Jake Allen. And if he gets the 50, you're probably pretty happy. Last year, under 40, the injuries really hindered him. He looks healthy this year, but, I was watching that Minnesota game and I was trying to keep track of how often Brian Mudryk on TSN said backdoor right before a shot that Jake Allen was having to take. And at the beginning of the second period, I'd already counted to 7. And that's a lot of backdoor chances for a full game, let alone like 22 minutes worth of play. So Jake Allen's had to push side to side a lot this year. If he's got groin issues lingering from last year, they are going to rear their ugly head. It's a lot to put on a goalie. I do want to give Sam Montembeault a bit of the benefit of the doubt, because last year was a rough place to play that many games, essentially as a rookie in the NHL, as a guy who's not really a high-end goaltending prospect. That's a rough situation for him to be in. And you could tell, I think, every time he got scored on last year and he'd take off his mask and he just had that deer in the headlights look, like, what am I doing here? It's a tough situation to be in for him, but this year it seems a lot more stable. They are going to give up big chances, but it's not as hopeless as it was last year. He hasn't, in his 2 starts so far, given up that like really early goal that puts the team behind, or several goals, which happened a lot last year. So he's been solid so far. Give him a few more starts. You don't have to redline Jake Allen to get into the playoffs this year. You can let him rest in between. So I think the priority is going to be managing his health as the season goes on and trying to get into that 50-game mark. But I wouldn't be afraid to start Montembeault. It's not like there's anything that they're shooting for this season anyway.
I think the game load is going to be critical for Jake Allen. As the schedule plays out, to not get in a situation where you really load them up with a lot of work. And let's face it, they're going to have their hands full with their number of shots each and every game. So we've seen it in the past. He starts to break down with too many games in a short period of time. I think they're going to really have to look at how they pencil him in, over the stretch of the season to keep him, within that number. You guys touched on 50 games. That might be a fair number for him. But I think it's going to be really important that they handle him with the workload, depending on scheduling, travel, and providing that they're not getting 50 or 60 shots a night. That will determine how he's used. But so far he's held up very well, and he's a good quality guy that takes a lot of pride in doing what he does. And we'll see how they play him over the course of the season.
Well, Andrew, you mentioned Montembeault having that sort of deer in the headlights look. To me, Primo's had that even more so when he's been in the NHL. I think it's important this year for Primo to play like 60 games in Laval. It's another reason why you don't want Allen getting hurt. You don't want to have to call Primo up again and have him sit on the bench or throw him in there. And Montembeault's defense, he played through a pretty bad wrist injury last year that required surgery after the season. I believe the Canadiens basically asked him if he could just sort of suck it up and keep playing because they really didn't want to put Primo back in there and have his confidence totally shattered. I think that's one of the reasons the Canadiens rewarded him after the season, Montembeault, with a contract. Because he took one for the team last year. He took a lot for the team last year, playing with a wrist that he could have easily just said, "I'm done. I'm shutting it down. I need to go get a surgery." So the way you treat people in the NHL and the way Kent Hughes has treated people since he's taken over here is a big difference from the previous management team of this. And I think that goes a long way, not only for Montembeault, but other guys in the room. They see the way Montembeault was treated well for doing what he did last season, taking one for the team, holding off the surgery until after the season. I think that goes a long way moving forward as far as the management's relationship with the players on this team.
So 100%. I mentioned quickly here, guys, Jake Allen played 61 games in 2016, 2017. He won 33 games. Now, if he does play 50 games, how many wins does he get in a 50-game window if that is the case for him this season?
Yeah, I think if Allen got 25 wins, if he plays 50 games and wins half of them, that would be a success. I mean, this is a team that, I don't think is going to finish at 500. So 25 wins to me for Jake Allen would be a reasonable goal for the season.
Yeah, I think I'd look more at like 20 to 22. I don't want to raise any expectations for this club this season. I think they've had a good start, but overall there's going to be stretches where they're going to lose like 5 straight just because the offense is inconsistent and the defense is young. So as good as Jake Allen's been, I'm also not sure if he can replicate this level of play over the course of the full season. And they're, under 500 right now. And I think Jake Allen has been the MVP of the team.
I think that's a fair number. 25 out of the 50 games played. I think that is something that's attainable, and obviously time will tell. But he's capable of doing that, and we'll hopefully see him healthy and continue playing the way he's playing because he's doing a good job.
Yeah, and there's already signs like for optimism the second half of this season. Like Jordan Harris playing 25 minutes against Minnesota. I mean, who would have thought that 7 games into the season? Caden Gooley's been really good. Arbor Jackie's been the surprise since training camp. I think they're going to continue to improve as this season goes along. It's going to be interesting to see how management handles that while still wanting to get a chance at Connor Bedard in the draft. I mean, at the trade deadline, they'll be moving some bodies away, which will make the team weaker, like what happened last season. But there's reason for optimism just watching these first 7 games, just that how quickly some of these young players are progressing.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how good Gooley is when Mike Matheson's in the lineup, right? Mm-hmm. When he's not the one who is taking all the tough matchups all the time.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see that the management is allowing these guys to experience the bumps in the road at the NHL level. And that's going to do them well in their progression to become NHL players.
Well, how many prospects over the years did the Canadiens just crush their confidence by benching them or making them a healthy scratch every time they made a mistake? You think back to the Stanley Cup, Cole Caulfield wasn't in the starting lineup for the playoffs. Kotkaniemi was made a healthy scratch. These young guys were playing with fear. They were playing afraid to make mistakes. And now they're not. And that's the key with developing any young player in the NHL.
Well, if there's a model to use, perhaps no fear for Jake Allen for the Montreal Canadiens as they progress along during this season. That'll do for this bonus episode here at Hockey Inside Out. Don't forget, check out the YouTube page and subscribe to the Hockey Inside Out on that. And also for content, go to MontrealGazette.com/newsletters and subscribe to Hockey Inside Out. And for full episodes and bonus content, check out Hockey Inside Out. And leave us a comment or question, and we'd love to get to that for a future episode here at Hockey Inside Out. That'll do it for this bonus episode. We'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.